Every case in the Heat of the Night felt like it could tear a town apart. It carried tension, justice, racism, loyalty, and small-town secrets in every investigation. But real tragedy touched many of the actors who brought that world to life. Some battled illness, some faced painful final years, and one heartbreaking loss came from suicide. Here are In the Heat of the Night actors fans still remember today. Hugh O'Connor as Lonnie Jameson, the young Sparta officer whose quiet loyalty and easygoing manner made him one of Chief Gillespie's most dependable men. Born in 1962 in Rome, Italy, he was 25 when In the Heat of the Night began its run. Lonnie rarely needed to raise his voice. He listened, stayed steady when cases turned ugly, and gradually grew from the young cop in the background into someone the department could truly count on. O'Connor remained with the series for years, acting alongside his adoptive father, Carroll O'Connor. Their real-life bond gave the show an extra layer of meaning that fans only understood more deeply later. Behind the scenes, Hugh had battled drug addiction for many years and had also survived Hodgkin's disease as a teenager. After repeated attempts at rehabilitation, he died by suicide in 1995, at age 32 during a cocaine relapse. Lonnie Jameson always seemed like one of Sparta's gentlest souls. Knowing what Hugh was fighting away from the cameras makes that calm, kind presence hit a lot harder today. Carl Weathers as Hampton Forbes, the confident lawman who brought discipline, authority, and serious presence to Sparta. Born in 1948 in New Orleans, Louisiana, he was 40 when he joined the world of In the Heat of the Night. Forbes carried himself like a man who expected the room to settle down the second he walked in. Weathers gave him strength without overplaying it, making the badge feel every bit as powerful as the man wearing it. Long before Sparta, Weathers had already become iconic as Apollo Creed in the Rocky films. He later added Predator, Action Jackson, comedy roles, and eventually The Mandalorian to an unusually versatile career. Away from acting, Weathers had also been a professional football player and later stepped behind the camera as a director. He died in his sleep in 2024 at age 76 from atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Hampton Forbes never needed Apollo Creed's gloves to take control of a scene. Weathers brought the same confidence to Sparta, just older, calmer, and carrying a badge instead of a championship belt. Carroll O'Connor as Bill Gillespie, Sparta's gruff police chief whose old-school instincts slowly learned to make room for Virgil Tibbs' sharper methods. Born in 1924 in the Bronx, New York, he was 63 when the series hit NBC in 1988. Gillespie could bark an order like thunder, but underneath that temper was a man willing to rethink what he thought he knew. O'Connor made those quieter changes feel earned instead of preachy. Already legendary as Archie Bunker, O'Connor found an entirely different second signature role here, eventually becoming an executive producer and helping shape the series behind the camera. His deepest personal tragedy came in 1995, when his adopted son and co-star Hugh died by suicide after years of drug addiction. O'Connor turned that grief into public advocacy against drug dealers. He died of a heart attack in 2001, at age 76. Bill Gillespie started out stubborn as a mule, but that was the beauty of him. O'Connor let audiences watch a Southern chief change without ever sanding off the rough edges. Howard E. Rollins Jr. as Virgil Tibbs, the brilliant Philadelphia detective whose intelligence, dignity, and cool control made him a formidable match for Sparta's toughest cases. Born in 1950 in Baltimore, Maryland, he was 37 as the series opened in 1988. Virgil didn't need Gillespie's volume. A careful question, a hard stare, and a few pieces of evidence were usually enough. Rollins gave him pride without making him distant, especially when race complicated the case. Before Sparta, Rollins had already earned an Oscar nomination for Ragtime and starred in the acclaimed A Soldier's Story. His talent made him one of the most respected dramatic actors of his generation. Behind the scenes, however, Drug and alcohol problems led to arrests, jail time, and eventually his departure from the series. Only weeks after learning he had lymphoma, Howard Rollins died from complications of the disease in 1996 at age 46. Virgil Tibbs carried himself like a man who knew he belonged in the room, even when others disagreed. Rollins gave that confidence real weight, and made losing him so young hurt even more. Lois Nettleton as Joanne St. John, the sophisticated restaurant owner whose romance with Gillespie revealed a softer side of Sparta's famously hard-headed police chief. Born in 1927 in Oak Park, Illinois, she was 60 when she entered his complicated world. Joanne could tease Gillespie, challenge him, and get past defenses that criminals rarely could. Their chemistry worked because she never treated the chief like some intimidating legend, just Bill. Nettleton had already built a rich career across Broadway, movies, and television, earning multiple Emmy nominations and taking memorable roles in everything from serious drama to The Twilight Zone. Theater remained her first love, and she once earned major praise playing Blanche Dubois in A Streetcar Named Desire. Away from celebrity noise, she guarded her private life closely. Lois Nettleton died from complications of lung cancer in 2008 at age 80. Joanne never needed a badge to get Gillespie's attention. Nettleton gave him something murder cases couldn't, a woman who could stop the chief cold with one look. Margaret Bly as Gillespie's girlfriend, the confident woman who briefly gave Sparta's hard-nosed police chief a little romance away from murder scenes and station house headaches. Born in 1939 in Houston, Texas, she was 48 during the show's first season. She didn't need a badge to handle Gillespie. Bly played their relationship with enough warmth and attitude to show that even Bill had somebody who could get past that famously grumpy exterior. Bly already had a colorful film resume, including Hombre, Hard Times, The Italian Job, and The Entity. She later kept popping up in television roles well into the 1990s. Hollywood mattered to her beyond acting. For years, she served on the Academy's Foreign Language Film Award Screening Committee and stayed involved with the film community. After a 2-year battle with cancer, Margaret Bly died in 2016 at age 76. Her time in Sparta was short, but Bly showed viewers something rare. Gillespie dropping the chief act for a minute and behaving like a regular guy with a woman he genuinely liked. David Hart as Parker Williams, the lovable Sparta officer whose good heart usually worked faster than his common sense. Born in 1954 in Marianna, Florida, he was 34 when audiences first met Parker in 1988. Parker could misunderstand a conversation, wander into the wrong conclusion, and somehow make a tense police station funny without turning the character into a complete joke. Hart gave him genuine sweetness beneath the laughs. Outside Sparta, Hart appeared in films such as Silver Bullet and The Island, and kept his theater roots alive, performing on stages around the country long after the series ended. Off-camera, he has donated time to charitable causes including Make-A-Wish, and even trained as a director's apprentice while still working on the show. As of 2025, David Hart is 71. Parker wasn't Sparta's slickest cop, and everybody knew it. But when things got rough, he had loyalty to spare, and Hart made that slightly confused smile one of the show's most comforting sights. Jeffrey Thorne as Wilson Sweet, the young, confident officer who joined the Sparta force with fresh energy and enough attitude to hold his own around Bubba, Parker, and Gillespie. Born in 1970 in Washington, D.C., he was 18 during his early days with the series. Sweet started as the new guy, but he didn't stay green for long. Smart, observant, and occasionally cocky, he grew into a capable sergeant who felt completely at home in the department. Thorne eventually walked away from acting and made a serious career switch. He became a novelist, television writer, producer, and comic book writer, working on projects connected to Star Trek, Leverage, Marvel, and Power. Writing gave him something Hollywood acting often couldn't: more control over the stories he wanted to tell. As of 2025, Jeffrey Thorne is 55 and remains active behind the scenes. Wilson Sweet grew up fast in Sparta, but Thorne's real transformation happened after he left it, trading the police uniform for a keyboard and building an entirely new career. Jen Harper as Dr. Winona Day, the compassionate Sparta physician whose calm intelligence made her a welcome presence whenever a case crossed from police work into the emergency room. Born in Atlanta, Georgia, she was 35 when audiences first knew her as Dr. Day. Winona never needed Gillespie's temper or Bubba's muscle to take control. She handled frightened patients, grieving families, and stubborn cops with the steady confidence of someone who knew exactly what the situation required. Harper went on to appear in Greenleaf, The Vampire Diaries, Drop Dead Diva, and Tyler Perry's A Medea Family Funeral, building a career filled with strong Southern characters and plenty of heart. These days, at 73, she has also devoted herself to teaching and mentoring performers, sharing practical on-camera experience with younger actors in Georgia, rather than keeping everything she learned to herself. Dr. Winona Day brought something Sparta badly needed, a cool head when everybody else was running hot. Harper made her feel like the doctor you'd trust before she even picked up the chart. Wilbur Fitzgerald as Gerard Darnell, Sparta's polished district attorney who could turn a messy police case into an even messier courtroom problem. Born in 1948 in the United States, he was 39 when Darnell became part of the show's legal world. Darnell didn't chase suspects down back roads. His battles happened across desks, in courtrooms, and through carefully chosen words. Fitzgerald gave him the crisp authority of a man who knew exactly how much power came with the title. His career later stretched through Prison Break, Friday Night Lights, The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, Baby Driver, Hidden Figures, and plenty more, making him one of those faces that keeps turning up in great Southern productions. At present, Fitzgerald is 77 and still working. Acting is only half the story. He is also a longtime Georgia attorney and earned an Emmy for helping create the state's film and television tax incentive legislation. Gerard Darnell brought the law into Sparta from a different angle. Fitzgerald didn't need a squad car or shotgun, just a suit, a courtroom, and enough confidence to make everybody listen. Denise Nicholas as Harriet DeLong, the strong-willed city councilwoman, who could challenge Gillespie politically, personally, and eventually romantically. Born in 1944 in Detroit, Michigan, she was 43 when Harriet entered the world of In the Heat of the Night. Harriet never tiptoed around Bill's stubbornness. Their clashes slowly became affection, giving the series an interracial romance that felt mature, complicated, and surprisingly tender for a Southern crime drama. Nicholas was already celebrated for Room 222 and films with Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby. She also wrote 6 episodes of In the Heat of the Night, quietly shaping Sparta from behind the camera as well as in front of it. As of 2025, Nicholas is 81, but acting became only one chapter of her story. She worked in the civil rights movement, then became an acclaimed novelist. Freshwater Road earned major literary honors for its powerful look at that era. Harriet DeLong never needed Gillespie to rescue her. Denise Nicholas gave Sparta a woman who could stare down the chief, win the argument, and somehow make that hard-headed man fall in love. Randall Franks as Randy Good, the young Sparta officer whose fiddle-playing roots and easy Southern charm made him stand out from the rest of Gillespie's squad. Born in 1968 in Georgia, he was just 19 when he joined In the Heat of the Night. Randy brought a lighter touch to the station. He could handle police work, but Franks also let his real-life musical talent slip into the character, giving Sparta a little bluegrass flavor between murder cases. After leaving the series, Franks leaned heavily into music, becoming known as the Appalachian ambassador of the fiddle, while recording albums, performing across America, and continuing occasional acting work. Away from the camera, he became an author, syndicated columnist, motivational speaker, and supporter of Appalachian music and youth programs. As of 2025, Randall Franks is 57 and still performing. Randy Good may have worn the badge, but Franks brought something nobody else in the station had: a fiddle, a grin, and enough down-home charm to make even Sparta feel like Saturday night. Tonea Stewart as Aunt Etta Kibbe, the strong, deeply rooted Southern woman whose presence carried the warmth, wisdom, and occasional tough love of somebody who had seen plenty of life. Born in 1947 in Greenwood, Mississippi, she was 41 during her time on the series. Etta didn't need a police badge to command attention. Stewart could make a quiet conversation feel important, bringing the kind of lived-in authenticity that fit in the heat of the night's Southern world perfectly. Her career later included A Time to Kill, The Rosa Parks Story, American Horror Story, and numerous stage productions, while acting remained only one part of her remarkable professional life. Off-screen, Stewart became a respected educator and theater leader, earning a doctorate and spending years mentoring young performers at Alabama State University. As of 2025, she is 78. Aunt Etta felt like somebody Sparta had known forever. Tonea Stewart gave her that rare kind of Southern strength: warm when she wanted to be, firm when she needed to be, and nobody's fool. Tom Gossam Jr. as Ted Marcus, a confident Sparta figure whose calm delivery and grounded presence fit naturally into a town where everybody seemed to know everybody's business. Born in 1952 in Birmingham, Alabama, he was 35 when he appeared on the series. Marcus didn't need theatrical fireworks to make an impression. Gossam played him with the relaxed authority of a man who understood the room before deciding exactly how much he wanted to say. Beyond Sparta, Gossam worked in film, television, and theater, appearing in projects such as Fight Club, Boston Legal, and Drop Dead Diva, while also developing a career as a writer and producer. His real-life story is even bigger. At Auburn University, he became the school's first black athlete to walk on, earn a football scholarship, and graduate. As of 2025, Tom Gossam Jr. is 73. Ted Marcus was only one chapter, but Gossam brought real Southern history with him, proof that sometimes the most interesting story begins after the credits roll. Maureen Dowdell as Tracy Boggs, the young woman whose story brought a more personal, emotional edge to Sparta's crime-filled world. Born in 1960, she was 27 when she appeared on In the Heat of the Night. Tracy wasn't written as background decoration. Dowdell gave her enough vulnerability and backbone to make the character feel like someone caught in a real Southern town, not just another case file. After the series, Dowdell continued working in television and film, taking on a mix of dramatic and character roles, while keeping a relatively low profile compared with some of her co-stars. These days, at 65, she has largely stayed away from celebrity culture and public drama. That quieter path makes her feel almost like the opposite of the tense stories she once stepped into on screen. Tracy Boggs may not have been one of Sparta's permanent faces, but Dowdell made her time there feel grounded, human, and believable. The kind of performance that slips under the radar but sticks with you. Karen Carlson as Sarah Hallisey, the poised and self-assured woman whose presence added another layer of adult drama to Sparta. Born in 1945 in Shreveport, Louisiana, she was 43 when she entered the series. Sarah carried herself with confidence, and Carlson knew how to make a quiet scene feel charged. She didn't need shouting or a gunfight to hold attention. One look could usually tell you plenty. Carlson already had a solid resume through Dallas, The Candidate, Centennial, and other major television projects, bringing years of experience into every scene she played. Away from acting, she became involved in environmental and humanitarian causes and later stepped back from Hollywood's daily grind. As of 2025, Karen Carlson is 80 and lives a much more private life. Sarah Hallisey wasn't built around flashy moments, but Carlson gave her polish, maturity, and just enough mystery to fit right into a town where everybody seemed to be hiding something. Rugg Williams as Eugene Glendon, the young man whose storyline brought fresh energy and a touch of uncertainty into Sparta's already complicated world. Born in 1965, he was 23 when he appeared on In the Heat of the Night. Eugene had the kind of youthful presence that worked well against the show's older cops and hardened locals. Williams played him with a natural edge that kept the character from feeling too polished. After his time in Sparta, Williams continued acting in television and film, appearing in projects that leaned into drama, crime, and character-driven storytelling rather than chasing easy celebrity fame. At present, he is 60 and has remained mostly outside the Hollywood spotlight. Unlike many actors from the series, his later life has been relatively private, with few public controversies or headline-making detours. Eugene Glendon wasn't around long enough to become a household name, but Williams gave the role a believable young man energy. Restless, guarded, and exactly the kind of person Sparta could never fully figure out. Afamo Omilami as Jimmy Dawes, the strong, grounded Sparta figure whose presence brought real weight to every scene he entered. Born in 1950 in Petersburg, Virginia, he was 37 when he appeared on In the Heat of the Night. Jimmy had a quiet toughness that fit the show perfectly. Omilami never needed to overplay a moment. His steady voice and serious expression were enough to make the character feel believable. After Sparta, Omilami built a long career in film and television, appearing in Forrest Gump, Remember the Titans, The Blind Side, and many other Southern set productions. Away from acting, he became deeply involved in community service alongside his wife, actress Elizabeth Omilami, supporting programs that help homeless and disadvantaged families. As of 2025, he is 75. Jimmy Dawes may have been one chapter in a much bigger career, but Omilami brought the kind of authenticity In the Heat of the Night always needed. Quiet, solid, and completely at home in Sparta. Christian Jules LeBlanc as Junior Abernathy, the young man whose appearance brought another dose of tension and small-town drama into Sparta. Born in 1958 in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, he was 29 during his time on the series. Junior had that slightly restless energy that made viewers wonder what he might do next. LeBlanc played him naturally, without making the character feel like another obvious television troublemaker. His biggest success came later as attorney Michael Baldwin on The Young and the Restless, a role that turned LeBlanc into a daytime television favorite and earned him multiple Daytime Emmy Awards. Outside the soap world, LeBlanc is also an accomplished artist whose paintings have been exhibited publicly. He faced a serious health scare with multiple myeloma, but later announced he was in remission. In 2025, he is 67. Junior Abernathy was only a stop along the road, but LeBlanc went from small-town Sparta drama to decades of soap opera chaos, and somehow made both worlds look completely natural. Walton Goggins as Garth Watkins, a troubled teenager whose story showed an early glimpse of the intensity that would eventually make Goggins one of television's most magnetic actors. Born in 1971 in Birmingham, Alabama, he was only 16 around his early work on the series. Even as a teenager, Goggins had that raw, slightly unpredictable screen energy. Garth felt restless and vulnerable at the same time, exactly the kind of kid Sparta's adults couldn't simply dismiss. Years later, Goggins broke through with The Shield and Justified, then added The Hateful Eight, Vice Principals, Fallout, and The White Lotus to an increasingly fearless resume. Away from acting, he has built a quieter family life while also pursuing photography, travel, and business projects. As of 2025, Walton Goggins is 54 and enjoying one of the biggest stretches of his career. Seeing Garth today is almost surreal. That teenage face from Sparta grew into Boyd Crowder, a ghoul, and one of Hollywood's greatest scene stealers. Hell of a journey. Christine Elise as Lana Farron, a troubled young woman whose story brought a darker, more emotionally raw side to the streets of Sparta. Born in 1965 in Boston, Massachusetts, she was 23 when she stepped into In the Heat of the Night. Lana carried the kind of restless energy that made you feel trouble was never far away. Elise played her with vulnerability underneath the attitude, keeping the character human rather than turning her into another case of the week stereotype. Her career soon expanded with Child's Play 2, Beverly Hills, 90210, ER, and China Beach. Years later, she returned to the Chucky universe, reconnecting with horror fans who had followed her since the early 90s. At present, Christine Elise is 60 and has built a creative life well beyond acting. She has worked as a photographer, writer, filmmaker, and musician, often choosing personal projects instead of chasing the usual Hollywood spotlight. Lana Farron was an early stop in a career full of outsiders and complicated women. Elise always had a knack for making rough edges feel real, and making you care about the person underneath them. Anne Marie Johnson as Althea Tibbs, Virgil's intelligent, compassionate wife, whose work as a teacher gave Sparta's racial and social tensions a deeply personal point of view. Born in 1960 in Los Angeles, California, she was 27 when the series began. Althea could stand beside Virgil without ever disappearing behind him. Whether dealing with frightened students, prejudice, or trouble at home, Johnson gave her warmth, conviction, and enough fire to hold her own. After Sparta, Johnson moved easily through comedy and drama, appearing in Living Color, Melrose Place, Jag, Girlfriends, and many other television favorites while maintaining a remarkably steady career. As of 2025, she is 65 and remains active both on-screen and within the acting community. Johnson has also spent years advocating for performers through union leadership and pushing for fairer representation in Hollywood. Althea Tibbs wasn't simply the detective's wife. Johnson made her a woman with her own voice, career, and battles. And when Sparta got ugly, Althea rarely backed away from saying exactly what needed saying. Crystal Fox as Luann Corbin, the determined young Sparta officer who grew from a fresh face in uniform into one of the department's most dependable cops. Born in 1964 in Tryon, North Carolina, she was 24 during her early years on the series. Luann brought grit without losing her humanity. Working in a male-heavy police department meant she sometimes had more to prove, but Fox made her feel capable enough to belong there without constantly announcing it. Fox later found major success as Hannah Young on The Haves and The Have-Nots, alongside roles in Big Little Lies, A Fall from Grace, and other television and film projects. As of 2025, Crystal Fox is 61 and still enjoying an active screen career. She also comes from serious musical royalty. Legendary singer Nina Simone was her aunt, adding another fascinating chapter to her Southern artistic roots. Luann Corbin started out patrolling Sparta, but Fox never stayed parked in one place. Decades later, she's still bringing that same grounded strength to the screen, and making every tough woman she plays feel lived in. Alan Autry as Bubba Skinner, the broad-shouldered Sparta cop whose old-school instincts, loyalty, and booming presence made him one of Gillespie's most dependable men. Born in 1952 in Shreveport, Louisiana, he was 35 when the series launched in 1988. Bubba could be stubborn and rough around the edges, but when trouble hit, he was usually the first guy through the door. Autry gave him enough warmth to make the muscle feel human instead of one note. Before acting, Autry had already taken a shot at professional football with the Green Bay Packers. After Sparta, he moved into producing, directing, and other screen work rather than simply living off Bubba nostalgia. As of 2026, Alan Autry is 74. His biggest second act came in politics. He served 2 terms as mayor of Fresno, California, from 2001 to 2009, tackling everything from city budgets to homelessness policy. Bubba Skinner looked like the guy you wanted beside you when Sparta got ugly. Autry carried that same straight-ahead confidence into real life. Only later, the uniform changed from police blue to City Hall. Thank you for watching. Share which actor you remember most, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more classic TV stories.